I'm Alwin van de Boogaard. I'm former military, former army officer of the Dutch Armed Forces. I've been working in Burundi for 9 years, out of which 5 within the SSD program. And the last 2 years I've been program director. The program consists of 3 pillars: the army pillar, the police pillar, and the governance of the security sector pillar. We are a new kid on the block. The Dutch don't have a historical ties with Burundi. That's one. The other thing is that I think taking for granted that every donor is credible, I think that's the first mistake. Look at your own position. Try to I think it's, if you talk about evaluation, it's also evaluate yourself. What are you doing? What have you been promising? What went well? What went wrong? And how can you be a credible partner? And once you have credibility, you can put on the table the more difficult questions. So start small, think big. For example, with the governance pillar, by accident, we started 1 year later. But at the end, we said, look, we couldn't have started governance from the beginning. And of course, we were criticized in the beginning by some within the SSR world, another SSR project, which will be train and equip. But once we came on full speed, and once we were credible as a partner, we executed 2 projects within 3 months after signing the memorandum. They were executed at 100%. And once we were there, we could introduce the heavier stuff. Credible position, or position as a credible partner. And then once we arrived at this position, we started to introduce gradually the more, let's say, heavy subjects on integrity, on legal framework, on civil society, and we started to broaden the scope of the program. There was and I think that's very strong. If you take the characteristics of a post-conflict environment and say, let's see what we can do, instead of having a logical framework which tries to squeeze into mathematical figures a society which is impossible, we had an idea of let's see what we can do, and we even don't have a project, a logical framework of each phase. We have what we call as the approach by process. If a process goes well, it can deliver, it can present another opportunity. For example, we had a huge success which we didn't foresee, elaborating the projects of the 3rd phase. We have done it with approximately 100 Burundian civilians and officers of army, police, parliamentaries, media, civil society, and we came back from the interior, and then I said to my deputy, I said, okay, but now we have a momentum, we have a success. How can we exploit our momentum? And then while going back to Bujumbura, to the capital, for 2 years we said, okay, if we just get all these people back every month and discuss an SSR related topic, and then this group we called the SSR network, and then after having this done 5 times, we said, okay, now we don't present anything anymore, now it's up to the Burundians to come up with an issue, and so they prepare, and we accompany, we assist, we provide them with information, we provide them with computer or whatever they need to perform this task, and you see that then you touch the question how to increase national ownership. So you need flexibility. And one of the advantages also of this sequencing of 4 phases is that we oblige the 2 governments to come to approve the plans of the next phase. So we have an opportunity to perhaps oblige is too strong, but to motivate the governments to have a political dialogue at high level. Don't take yourself as granted, don't take the situation as granted. Continue evaluating, analyzing the environment, being aware that you will never understand the environment for 100%. Accept the characteristics of SSR. It's a volatile environment, not only for you as a donor, but also for the ones who are living within the country. This volatile character of the environment is putting stress on everybody, international and national. And then what I learned there is that even if things go wrong, and things have went wrong, we had the Burundi case where the police killed more than 10 people. The reaction was, okay, this was wrong, and this what you can say because you are a credible partner, but how can we prevent it in the coming months? How can we change? How can we reduce the probability that it will reoccur? So I have two phases, strict and cooperative. I think there's something weird on SSR. We say it takes a generation, and that's an idea. Real deep change in a society takes a generation. But at the same time, we would like to have deep changes within an electoral period, governmental period within the Netherlands, which is 4 years. So in fact, we try to squeeze 20 years into bits and pieces of 4 years, because every politician would like to present results. There's a lot of tension. And it goes automatically. It's not on purpose. It's not that somebody in The Hague says, I would like to build up tension on the program director, but it's normal. Everybody would like to come up with a good message. So on one side it's normal, but it's also a pitfall, because it's one of the good things we have done is we didn't communicate on behalf of the program for 2 years. And in fact, we were, let's say, protected by the Dutch presence in Afghanistan and the retreat out of Afghanistan, which all politicians had their scope on Afghanistan. And we could, like, let's say, old military, we could maneuver through the bush, through the valley. And now it's time we can say we have something, we can show something. So in fact we had 5 years, from 2006, 3 years before the Memorandum of Understanding, and then 2 years of keeping down, making it 5 years. There's nobody within the program who doesn't have a task to perform within the political dialogue. Of course, it's very difficult for a project manager who is Burundian to do a political dialogue, but there is a political element in his project, in his message, and the higher you get in the organization, the more political the task gets. So I like to say that, let's say, within the 3 pillars, 20% political, 80% execution. At the embassy and the steering committee, it's nearly 100 political. And the program director, we agreed that he will float between the embassy and the technical level. He is free. And once he said, this is becoming too political for me, he hands over to the embassy. And once there's a breakthrough, the embassy says, okay, now you continue. And this way we also manage that the steering committee is a platform for political dialogue. You cannot do SSR without doing politics. It's impossible. You don't touch the real, let's say, the essence of the process of change, because it's a process of change of society, and government is part of the society. There are several. One is be flexible. Be flexible and take risks. Of course, try to assess the risk you take. The other is that be humble. Don't expect that you manage to understand a post-conflict environment, a context. If I doubt whether it's possible even to have a 100% understanding of the Dutch society. So, and that's the other thing, be humble. Three is that try to make yourself, how say it, replaceable, expendable. Try to get out of the process. Try to hand over. Make a long process. Have a long period, because ownership is something which has to grow. Take your time. At the other side, take your time. On the other side, we put conditions on the table, although it's against the spirit of Paris and Accra. But perhaps the most important one is be open and transparent. And the last one might be try to turn a negative thing, a negative development which occur in post-conflict countries, into a positive one.